What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Bull, Season 2, Episodes 6 and 7, Exception to the Rule, and No Good Deed. So, both of these interesting in their own right, because both of them have sort of a different feel to them. The first one of these two, Episode 6, The Exception to the Rule, pretty interesting setup. We've got Bull is called upon by this young attorney whose mom is sick. Turns out, apparently, Bull used to know her back in the day. They used to date. Before he went off to college. So, yeah, a little bit of history for Bull there, and we come to find out that apparently this company that this local town trusted in kind of poisoned the water supply unknowingly with some chemicals. People got sick because of it, and while the company admitted to it, and it was found that it was their fault, whenever a settlement was asked, they didn't want to pay out what the people were asking for. And so it wasn't enough money for them to live their lives, and on top of that, the people wanted them to replace the pipes because they were now stained. So kind of a reasonable thing, but this company is just like, you can't touch us, so no. And so of course Bull steps in, and overall it's not really as much about the trial in this one. This one is definitely more about the emotions behind it. Bull dealing with this former love that he used to know. The fact that she's dying of cancer, very emotional. The relationship between her and her son, who's this young lawyer trying to make it. Overall, they handle it pretty well. It was a well-written story. I thought the guy playing the son did a very good job of sort of portraying that the youth and inexperience, but also the heart of a kid who just really wants to make it and wants to help his mom out of this situation. So I thought they did a very good job of showing that. On top of that, you got to see a lot of the emotion from Bull in this episode, just how much he cared for this girl, and the fact that she's dying is just like really upsetting, and it's really hard for him to get through. So I thought the emotions were very well captured. The end of the episode was a little bit anticlimactic. She admits that she does love this town, and she respects the company even though her husband died working for them, and even though they didn't pay what they were supposed to, she still respects them because she understands that this is life. Just because they did something doesn't mean it doesn't mean she gets the right to be mad at them, but she is surprised and shocked that they weren't more helpful. And the speech was moving enough to where the lawyer for the company is like, you know what, all right, we'll pay what we owe. We'll fix the pipes. And so it ends on sort of the trial didn't actually end. It wraps up. They settle. They realize everything's okay, and everything just works out for the better. And so it was kind of a nice ending. And so overall that's about all that episode had to offer. Don't think there was anything on the side in this one. Most of sometimes the side characters get a story. I think they were all pretty much just back in the office while Bull was in this little small town doing the trial. So pretty much the only side story going on was with Bull and this woman. What kind of a funny scene at the end where the son is coming home with these people who've brought cake. He's like, let me go check and see if my mom and Dr. Bull are ready. He goes inside, and apparently Bull and this girl used to do raps together. And so he goes in, and that song is playing, because we saw him rapping to it earlier, but they're giggling, and you can hear stuff going on upstairs, and he's just like, and then leaves them. It was the perfect reaction. But, it was an interesting enough episode. It was pretty good. And then we get to this next one, and definitely a little bit different setup, because the woman already confessed to the crime. There were some tests being altered by some teachers. This one teacher who is pretty much straight as an arrow sees this one kid who's not really a bad kid, just a very troubled kid. Got a very difficult life to deal with, got a lot of stuff going on that make it to where it's hard for him to succeed in school. And so she sees he shows up late to this one test. She knows he probably didn't do well on the test, so she goes and alters the test scores. Well, all these teachers get caught. She's the only one that admits it, and so they're trying to pin her for the crime. And they're trying to pretty much get her to turn on the other teachers by, saying, hey, we'll cut a deal with you. But ultimately, of course, Bull is like, no, that's wrong. You're not going to use her as an example of, that's not right. To punish this one teacher who's just trying to do a good thing for a kid, that's not right. And so he tries to step in and help out. She gets a public defender who's just a total bitch. Pretty much no reason for her to be in this episode other than we need to hate the lawyer in charge. I honestly, that's the biggest problem I have with this episode. Yeah, I enjoyed it overall, but the biggest problem I had was just this public defender was just awful. She didn't trust Bull and his tactics. She didn't do what he was telling her to. She went against the script several times. And then at the end of all of this, they offer her a deal saying, hey, turn in the other 5 teachers. We'll give you your job back. We'll let Tyler go to school. And she rejects it because she doesn't feel like she can turn in her fellow teachers. She doesn't want to cost anybody else their jobs, which, makes sense. Not everybody would be able to just do that. And the defender's just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm out. I know a good deal when I see it. That was the best deal we could have gotten. I'm done. And she just leaves. I'm just like, well, okay then. You're a piece of shit. So, yeah, I don't really know why she was even in this episode other than to have a public defender who's just a total bitch. So that was kind of frustrating, but we do see, all of this stuff is going on with trying to figure out how can they defend her even though she admitted to the crime. They're trying to show that what she did was bad, but it was out of necessity. It wasn't, while it was a horrible thing to change a test answer, it wasn't as bad as, say, what the other teachers did. They're trying to sort of show that what she did was an isolated incident that had a purpose, while the others just did it because they're horrible people. And ultimately, it does ending with the teacher being found guilty. And honestly, it did kind of come as a little bit of a shock. It was just kind of one of those things. The reaction of the team was perfect, in my opinion. You see, first of all, the opinion or the acting on the person in charge of the jury. Her acting was spot on because she reads it with like this emotion. Her voice breaks whenever she reads it, and you can tell it was a difficult decision they had to come to. Whenever the guilty verdict is announced, the defendant, her reaction is just breathless. Bull's reaction is breathless. Benny actually jumps when the gavel hits. It physically hits him that much. And I'm just like, the reaction of the team was spot on. This is what it's like to lose a case. Especially in this circumstance where this is a woman who was in the wrong situation. Caught up in a situation she had no part of being in. And so the fact that she's found guilty is it's heartbreaking. It's really sad that now she's got this on her record. She won't be able to teach anymore. But this is where I feel like I remember something like this in the first season as well. There's almost there was kind of a sad ending or something, but then all of a sudden at the end it sort of got wrapped up very happily for no reason. That's what this kind of felt like. She gets the guilty verdict. Next thing you know, we see Bull getting on this carriage ride. He was supposed to go on with the mayor. He's talking to somebody that she works with, or that works for her. And he's talking to this guy saying, I need a favor. And ultimately this guy just tells him, oh yeah, she'll do fine. She'll probably end up at a private school. And then Bull convinces him to get Tyler into a school somewhere. And everything just kind of works out hunky-dory. I'm like, I don't know. It just kind of feels a little too forced on for a happy ending. Sometimes in life, things aren't always happy. She made a mistake. Normally in life, you have to accept the consequences. When you make mistakes, things don't always just flip around and you're like, hey, things are okay now. No, most of the time, you make a mistake, you suffer consequences. That's how life works. And so the fact that it's almost like she made the mistake, but then at the end they're just like, oh, no consequences, guys. She's going to end up at a nice private school somewhere. She's going to be able to still teach kids. Don't you worry about a thing. Yes, she made a mistake, but it's okay because life always works out in the end. As long as you're a good person, it doesn't matter what type of mistakes you make because it's always going to work out. As long as you're doing bad things for the right reasons, things are going to work out. I'm sorry, that's not life. I get that you want to have a show where there's a happy ending. I totally get that. A lot of times it's a fiction. It makes sense that you want to have a happy ending, a feel-good ending. But at the same time, if you do that for every single episode, at some point you just kind of go, I know everything's going to work out. Oh, guilty verdict? Oh, it's probably okay. She probably won't get any jail time. She probably won't, have to serve time. She'll probably just get off with maybe a slap on the wrist or something. Oh, he got a guilty verdict for a murder. Oh, well, it's okay because they'll probably let him out for good behavior in like 2 months. It'll probably all work out in the end because that's what the show is setting up. And I don't want to feel like that. I want to feel like there's some sort of tension in the show and things might go wrong, but I don't feel that anymore because even in episodes like this where it's a bad ending, the guilty verdict happens, it doesn't matter because it all still works out in the end. And that's frustrating to me. It's frustrating that that's sort of what they're instilling in these first 2 seasons. So I'm not really pissed off at the ending. I'm pissed off at kind of the precedent that they're setting in the show. I want them to take some chances, make some mistakes, no pun intended, but really try to do something different. Have some episodes that end with maybe did things really work out in the end? Did we actually win this case? Maybe they get off somebody that's actually guilty. NCIS just did that. Maybe their client who was innocent, they weren't able to get off because of some sort of technicality. Something. I don't know. I want to see them take a chance, and they haven't yet. I realize we're only 2 seasons in. Well, not really. We're 1 season and then 4 or 5, 7 episodes in. So I get the fact that it's not going to automatically start taking chances. They are starting to build up a story and a show right now. I get that. I totally understand. But at some point you guys say, you know what? Let's take a risk. Let's take a chance. Let's do something crazy and different and really try to do something interesting with the show. And right now they just aren't doing that. They're not really taking those chances, and so most of these episodes have been pretty good. This one just kind of fell flat for me because the emotion was there, but in the end, all of that emotion just kind of went out the window for a forced happy ending. I guess the other thing to talk about is the thing going on with Marissa right now. Apparently, the guy that she's been seeing, we saw him in, I think, episode 5. He took her to dinner with Bull, and Bull got to meet him, and then he was talking about some sort of plan to build these buildings in a broken down neighborhood or something like that. Apparently in this episode, excuse me, Marissa wakes up in the middle of the night and finds that he is looking through all of her papers and seeing that her finances aren't really in order. And because he's kind of that type of guy who looks into finances and makes sure people are set up, he's worried about her. He's like, let me help you. Let me help you set up. And here's the thing. They're kind of playing it near the end. She talks to Bull. She's like, why can't we trust people in this line of work? Almost saying like he was trying to do something nice for me, but I just sort of blew him off and got pissed off at him. Here's the thing. I understand he's trying to do something nice for her. That does not excuse what he did. He still broke into your cabinet. He still looked through all your personal papers, which is not something you should be doing. I mean, how long have they been seeing each other? It hasn't been that long. It's showtime. It's been 2 weeks. Maybe inside the show it's been a month or 2 months or something like that. It hasn't been long enough to where, hey, let me go snooping through your papers in the middle of the night when we're supposed to be spending the night together. That's not right. It doesn't matter what his intentions are. That's not something you do when you're in a relationship with somebody, especially if you're not in a married relationship with them. You should not care that much about their finances if you don't have a ring on that finger yet. So, I don't know. I feel like they're kind of playing it off as just kind of like, oh, he's just trying to be sweet, and Marissa's just not very trusting right now, and that's the whole point of the story. When it should be, this guy's kind of creepy. This guy is looking through your papers in the middle of the night. That's wrong. That is not allowed. See you later, dude. I get that Marissa is probably really happy and probably doesn't want to end the relationship, but and all this is kind of a side story. It's like 3 scenes in the entire episode, so it's not that important, but I just still feel like they're kind of playing that off way too much. But anyway, that's about it for these 2 episodes. Both of them interesting enough, not really anything special, but I don't know. We're in season 2. It still hasn't really gotten to the point that I want it to yet. It's interesting enough because I do like the psychology of it, but I want to see them take some more chances. I want to see them do some more risky stuff. I want to see that the team can be fallible. And right now, even whenever they do make mistakes, it gets covered up at the end. If they lose the case, things still work out for the better. I just feel like I want to see some, mistakes made and things go wrong and they make mistakes. Because then I actually feel like this team is human and they're not superhuman. So anyway, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 2 episodes? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future bull reviews. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.